There are a lot of players right now that are currently dying on our fantasy rosters. They're withering away. Yeah, a lot of fantasy gamers are holding on to him tightly, and they're starting him week after week, hoping they go back to what they used to be. One wide receiver that has been killing everybody in fantasy right now. A lot of people drafting him high back in August, back in September. There were a lot of high hopes for this guy. Everybody loves this wide receiver, and it's Allen Robinson. And man, as he fell from grace this season. A good situation. We were expecting money printer to go burrow with him and Matt Stafford. It did not happen. It's not happening. So far in 5 games, he's caught 12 passes on 23 targets, has a 12% target share, 221 air yards, which equates to 44.2 air yards per game, 9.6 air yards per target. So not looking good there. All of this is on a 94.5 route participation rate. So it's not like he's out there running routes. He's out there. He's just not getting targeted. The targets are just not coming his way. He's got 28.7 fantasy points on the season. On the season. Not in 2 games, not in 3 games. On the season. 5.7 fantasy points per game. And that is PPR. We're not even cutting it half and half PPR or standard. That is PPR. 34 yards after the catch on the whole year. 2.83 yards after the catch per reception. 0.55 yards per team pass attempt, which is really hard to do, especially when you have a 94.5 route participation rate. You're expected at least to be in the ones somewhere. 0.55, wow, that is pretty low. Currently, the wide receiver 76. 230th player overall in fantasy. 230th player overall. He's startable maybe in 20-team leagues. That is what that's saying for us. Underdog ADP in August, he had an ADP of 41. That was where people were drafting him at. And now, at his production level, he's giving you 230 overall. That is where he's at right now. What we're looking at here is target share rates at the Rams, and we can kind of get a clue of what's going on just by looking at that, not even watching the games. Cooper Kupp, 33.5% target share over 5 games. Tyler Higbee, a 25.1% target share over 5 games. Between those two players, you got a 58.6% target share. They're taking over half the targets, almost 60%. And then you got Ben Schoeneck, getting 12.6. He's just randomly getting targets out there, and the running backs have 20 targets to themselves on the season. One thing you note as a positive for Allen Robinson is that he got 7 red zone targets to Cooper Kupp's 8, so he is getting some red zone looks, but that is not converting enough for him to be valuable in fantasy. And the funny thing is here, he's rostered in 81% of the league still. And last week, in week 5, he was started in 28% of leagues. People are just putting him in there, closing their eyes, hoping he comes back. The one thing is, Tyler Higbee is earning targets over him. He cannot earn targets over Tyler Higbee, and he's struggling getting targets over Ben Schoeneck. And it's not looking good on the field. Like, you can tell that he's not earning those targets. He's not getting the separation. It's not coming his way. Cooper Kupp's going to do Cooper Kupp's things, but all in all, this is not looking good. Can things be restored? Not with this workload. Not at all. If we continue with this workload, it's just going to be a lot more of the same. Maybe a couple upside games here and there, especially with these red zone looks. Maybe if something happened to Tyler Higbee or something like that, but we're not predicting injuries. Tyler Higbee with a 25% target share, and then you got an alpha target share leader in Cooper Kupp. That is hard to surpass when you have 2 guys soaking up the targets. When you have an alpha wide receiver and a tight end that's getting well over 20% of the targets, it's hard for the wide receiver to really produce and be productive on a fantasy football level, especially when you're getting drafted in the 40s in ADP back in August. Some other sites, he was around the 50s or later. I think ESPN, he was like in the 90s or something when I looked back on my spreadsheet. But still, He is not living up to it. He is just not earning the targets, getting open, getting the looks his way. And what's going to happen from here? You got, what, a 29-year-old wide receiver who's been through the ringer throughout his career. He's been in the league since 2014. It's about time. It's about time. Allen Robinson's time in this league is about over. We thought when he was in Chicago, it was a 100% Chicago thing, which it might have been, but it's not looking good here in LA. And maybe he can turn things around. Maybe he can put a couple games together. But is that something you are feeling good about? Is that something you're going to put in your lineup? Are you part of that 28% who started him last week? Are you part of that? How are you feeling about Allen Robinson right now? The numbers don't lie. It's not looking good. We're not getting yards after the catch. We're not getting consistent air yards. We're not getting targets. And that is killing his fantasy production. He can't out-target Tyler Higbee, which is a major red flag. We knew he would be at the most the 1B to Cup, but it ain't even the 1Z right now. So what's going to happen going forward? It's probably going to be a lot of the same unless something happens. Expecting something different while continuously doing the same thing is the definition of insane. So what I've heard. But that is what we're looking at. I don't expect much changes unless something changes with the offense or he starts getting open more or starts getting more red zone looks. But we need something to happen with Allen Robinson for him to be rosterable in fantasy football, because right now he's not. Right now, with what we're looking at, that's not a rosterable wide receiver. I'm not saying you should cut bait, but maybe you should be thinking about it, especially if you're an 0-5 team, 1-4 team, and he's one of your main pieces. Maybe you need to think about it. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you want to wait a little bit longer, which is fine, but I definitely wouldn't be starting him until he started showing some life. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. Sometimes you just got to take old Yeller out back and just put him down. But let me know what you think about Allen Robinson right now. Drop that in the comments below. Make sure you hit that like button. Helps the video out on the algorithm. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because I'm dropping content like this, rankings, trade videos, waiver wire, help, everything you got on this channel. But I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.